Hello and welcome to the final episode of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. Show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If over the weekend you missed out on the AFCON final, well, don't worry. There are lots of football and lots of sporting events happening. So you can still visit Bet Power's official website, place those bets and cash out heavy because they've got the best odds and the biggest payouts, and they are proud sponsors of this particular program. Like I said, it's the final episode. We'll wrap up the competition, talk about the third and fourth place game. We'll talk about the final itself. We'll look at high points, low points, and everything in between. So your comments are welcome on the WhatsApp number on your screen, and you can send us messages. We would love to hear from you all through the program. What did you make of the AFCON? Did you like it? What didn't you like? What you liked? What were some of your favorite moments as well? So you can send in your comments on the WhatsApp number on your screen, and we'll gladly go through a lot of those thoughts and comments. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, my guests are ready to run the rule over a very exciting 2023 AFCON competition. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan. Once again, let me introduce my guests. So I brought back the two Kwames. Kwame Bafo and Kwame Safo. Guys, how are we doing? All of us, you look very happy.
Bien.
Tu vas bien?
Bien.
I can't, you know, last night when the final whistle went, I kept thinking of just one thing, like how Abidjan will be for the next week. I don't think any productive activities will be happening today, tomorrow, maybe up until Thursday. I don't know.
I had a call from the host family that hosted me.
Yeah.
I was supposed to call them to congratulate them, but interestingly, they called and it was like, they've declared tomorrow a holiday. Yeah. We are not going to work tomorrow. and you could feel the excitement, the buzz, sheer ecstasy just all around the stadium. I'm just imagining the town. I mean, having experienced Abidjan for just 3 days and the kind of festival they've put together. Like I told you the other time, if you take 10 people, you have about 6 or 7 people in an Ivory Coast shirt or something. So I wasn't surprised. And I wish, you know, I went with a friend. He told me, why are we in Ghana? Why did we come to Ghana? We should be in Abidjan experiencing something great as that. Yeah.
But when all of this settles, it makes you think about Ghana, right? And you ask yourself, when really, like, will we ever experience anything like this in the foreseeable future?
It's not just about, I thought about that, but to be honest, you reap what you sow. And that's why I keep on consoling myself that till we get our things right, or to even if people play for the badge, because this is what you call, this is the actual never say die until the bones are rotting kind of thing. And you see, it's not about just this evening. It's going to be, stories are going to be told about this for decades. Generations are going to hear about, because the last time they hosted was some
1984.
Some 40-something years ago. They couldn't win it. And even till now, they talk about hosting it and not winning it. So you can imagine this. I watched it with a lot of Ivorians. I'm not even going to lie. I watched it in an Ivorian crowd, and they were saying, today is our birthday. Like, years to come, they are going to remember this day. So these are the things football does to you. It's not just a mere sport. It's a religion. It's a culture.
Bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's actually big. Shout outs to our very good friends in Cote d'Ivoire. We'll speak to John Boafo in Cote d'Ivoire. I don't know what kind of state John is in by now. No, even if he doesn't get on the Zoom, it's fine, because I don't know what kind of state he's in, but we'll try and get some more insight from Cote d'Ivoire to see how people are soaking it all in. For the players who took part, you can imagine, I'm sure some of them will wake up in the morning and ask themselves, did it really happen? Did it really happen? We are AFCON winners for the third time. Alrighty, before we even get into the football, let's get a feel of, you know, the songs that have made the AFCON. So first we'll get a feel of the official song, and then we'll get the feel of the unofficial song, which I think should be there. the anthem of the competition, Tamsir's Coup de Marteau. But let's get the official song is Magic System, Yemi Alade, some others, and then we'll get a feel of the song of the times, Coup de Marteau by Tamsir. All right, so for the second time in the competition, or for the third time in the competition, South Africa entered a penalty shootout, but they come out successfully on the right side on 2 occasions. Ronwen Williams, again, penalty saving antics. He saved 2 and essentially helped South Africa pick up another AFCON bronze medal, their first one since the year 2000 when Ghana and Nigeria co-hosted. Thoughts on the game before we get into all other things. Let me start off with you.
Well, off air we were discussing this. I am of the view that this whole third and fourth place need to be scrapped. I'm too heartbroken to be watching third and fourth games. I mean, you remember the consecutive times Ghana was making it to the semi-finals, and you get there in 2012, I think 2013. I mean, you just 2017. I mean, you get to this point and you ask yourself, what's in it? You don't know how to even pick yourself up to go into such a game. That's why we see games like that. Because if you watch the game, it gets to a point where these teams are like, what is this? It gets to a point where they pick up, where you see, okay, let's do something. Yeah. Maybe we may get something out of this. We may get a medal out of it. Because of the fear of the penalty shootout. Yeah. Because you probably may have lost in the semis via shootout. And there's no extra time. That's it. You just go straight into it. And some of the chances the Congolese miss is mind-boggling. I mean, how do you miss those chances? It tells you the level of seriousness attached to it by both teams. When it got to the crunch moment where they feel, okay, there's going to be a decider, you could just see their faces during the penalty shootout, and they felt that, okay, let's give it one more shot. Let's not go home. Let's go home with something, like a bronze medal, a medal to show that we were also present at the tournament and all of that. There's a reason why the Europeans have scrapped it. I subscribe.
I totally disagree.
I know, but I subscribe to it. I subscribe to it because it's heartbreaking. Semi-finals are heartbreaking. I am close to the final.
I think it offers teams another opportunity to at least walk away with something. And for records keeping, at least we know who officially finishes third.
No, I recognize who even finishes second. It's the champions that we always remember. So it tells you the level of seriousness attached to the game up until a point where they feel that, okay, this is business. Let's get something out of it. Okay. The South Africans dominated the first half, as you'd expect, created a few chances. The second half, the Congolese took over, created a ton of chances. Where you'd expect them to bury it, unfortunately, they didn't bury it. Look at the mistakes Ron Williams was doing in the game, losing balls, falling into Meshach earlier, and I mean, you should be burying those chances, and I wasn't surprised. So we'll treat the third and fourth as they want us to treat it, and then we'll pick it up like that. That's my thoughts, Nate.
Let's be honest, the game was a terrible game. It was a terrible game, but I do not think it's a reason for scrapping of the third and fourth place. The reasons why I believe the third and fourth place is a very important thing is, first of all, players, you take a medal home. You see, you go to the Olympics, you might not necessarily have the gold, but I think we are underestimating the importance of a medal or winning a medal. It's there for generations. It's there because you don't get a certificate of participation for being fourth. You get a medal. And yes, people say medals do not buy food, but at least they signify something. They signify that this day and age, we got a bronze medal for, and look at a country like South Africa. And that's why South Africa, I was shocked South Africa put up that performance because I felt it meant more to them because whenever they go into their history books, this is like the third time we've come this far, this is the third time we've come this far. You'd see when South Africa gets back to, when they get to for Oliver Tambo, when they get to the Oliver Tambo airport, how they will be received back because in as much as it sums up your tournament, this is a competition of 24 teams. Yeah. And you came up third. I would always pick coming up third than coming up fourth. But secondly, the third and fourth place playoff gives you the opportunity to play players who didn't get the chance in the tournament. So you look at a team like Congo. Mpase didn't catch. My favorite guy, Mpase, he was not in that team. They gave the opportunity to people like Silas who normally didn't get the chance. And that's why I always love seeing a Malian team in the third and fourth place because you know the Malian teams are always going to show up. Those times Ghana didn't care. And it got to a point Mali were always beating us every time because we really didn't care back. You see, that's the thinking is wrong because this is the time where, and I like Kwesi Appiah during those periods because that's when he started trying out Solomon Asante, the players he didn't get the start. I would have loved for Ghana to be in the third or fourth place, and then you give the likes of Richmond Lamptey the chance. You give the Nesniamas, you were not given the opportunity there in the main playoffs. So I think that's very important. That's something that shouldn't be understated or overlooked. But thirdly, too, there are prize allocations for the third and fourth place. You take away something, and that's something which in and of itself should give you the morale for it. I've watched, so you take Germany 2006 World Cup. Germany were eliminated in the semi-finals by Italy. They went to the third and fourth place against Portugal. That's one tense game. And how the Germans took that match very personally, because you cannot leave, juxtapose that to the 2014, how the Brazilians already could not even salvage themselves to pick themselves up. You could see the crowd still behind the team in the tail. So, yeah, I get why the Europeans have scrapped it off, but personally, in my opinion, this is where you should get free-flowing football that is not guarded by a lot of tacticals or things like this, where you should have people bringing out the flair. Normally, it should be an exciting game. If you watch that game, it was a terrible game, especially if you're a young attacker, because in the final third, both teams were horrendous. But if they were taking the opportunities, that would have been a very thrilling 3-3, 4-3 game, which we would have talked about. But because both teams were woeful in the final third, it became a very, very terrible game to watch.
Let's talk about the penalty shootout. South Africa's third in that competition. They beat Cape Verde, lost to Nigeria, and then they were coming back here. It looks like, well, I mean, after playing two, they didn't look too overawed by the occasion. But some of the decisions the players took, Mokwena, I felt so sad for him. His kick hit the post.
I saw a difference in approach from the South Africans this time around. They were not going the level the keepers could, have the ball. They were going extreme. So that was what Mokwena tried to do. That it hit the post and went out. Now, if you study all the other penalties they played, I think it was only Mokwena that missed this penalty. If you watch the other penalties they played, it was just extreme. Not so clearly, a lesson has been picked and something is being worked on. That don't pick your spot, but don't play to the level where the goalkeeper will be able to, because there were times where the goalkeeper for Congo dived to where the ball was, but still couldn't have a hand to it. It was rather the Congolese, Chancellor Mbemba and the Shark earlier,
I was
playing at that level. I mean, we've
but funny enough, once I saw that it was Mbemba who was about to take the last kick, I just had a funny feeling that the story was about to take a different direction.
So you see, that's what he said. And the Congolese goalkeeper got the direction more times than Rowan Williams did. Yes. But one thing you are certain about Rowan Williams is if he's getting the direction, there's a high probability, because even in the extreme situations, he's able to parry the ball. South Africa really, and that's one thing I really like about these South Africans. I always keep on saying it on this show. Teams should learn their lessons. You see Mokwena, and Mokwena, I just feel bad for him because he's missed 2 penalties successively. He tried to go for the extreme direction. He didn't get it. But the other players who came, the Congolese goalkeeper always got the direction. If it was a little bit to the middle, I'm sure the hero of the day would have been the Congolese goalkeeper. For Chancellor Mbemba, you don't think Rowan Williams has done his research on where you are going to kick it? And you see, but another thing I also realized about Rowan Williams too is that they still got him on the middle thing.
Exactly.
Because he was still an early diver. He was not changing his ways back. I was thinking about this penalty shootout a lot of times. Like, if I was Rowan Williams or if I was a kicker, what would I do? Especially if you've placed it in the middle once or twice and he's been an early diver. You second guess yourself that maybe he will stay in the middle. So the best thing is just go your direction.
Sorry to interrupt. You see, Mbemba tried to play through the middle, but somehow, I don't know the technique he used. So the ball swerved a bit, and that was what allowed Williams to, because if he had gone through the middle, he would have scored.
He would have scored. And you see, the thing is, the reason I'll give Williams his plaudits are the timing of Mbemba's penalty. He was literally he literally pulled a John Terry, but we don't get the third, fourth, please. So it wouldn't really matter. But he was the last kicker of the ball, and for him to calm his nerves and keep his team inside, it was a fascinating shootout. But to be very honest, we've been spoiled with a lot of penalty shootout, so it didn't really move us a lot, but it was still a fascinating. And both teams have already played the penalties. Yeah. Congo against
Egypt, yes.
So they were.
So this was the second shootout.
The second shootout for them, and I think this is also second shootout for the South African.
Third.
Nigeria,
Cape Verde.
Oh. Yes. They've been shooting their way out throughout the tournament, I see.
And then finally, it was Meshach Elia who missed his kick. He didn't look confident at all. He looked really tense.
I mean, if Yoram Wissa is not even taking it in the first 5, you could see that. You know, sudden death is, you would have to play. Sudden death are mostly the people who shied away from the first kick, so you would have to play. And for someone who plays for young boys, I would have expected the likes of him and Wissa to be part of the first kickers. But, I mean, spoke volumes why they were taking it in sudden death.
Well, interesting stuff. The South Africans emerging on the right side of the shootout this time. So 2 shootout wins out of 3 in the same competition, and South Africa are third. They are, like I said, they are their first bronze medal since the year 2000 when they finished third in Ghana and Nigeria. This is the AFCON Daily Show. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we get into other things. We'll have a look at what's happening on social. It's been an absolutely bloody war on socials since last night. All kinds of things happening there. We'll try and understand what has been happening, and then we'll talk about the final itself and pick out a few other interesting points of the competition. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi. My name is Nathan Carr. Show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you want the biggest wins, biggest payouts, best odds, then Bet Power is the website for you. My guys are still here, Kwame Bafo and Kwame Safo. We are talking about the AFCON, but let's get on social media, because since last night, it's almost like a battlefield on social media. It's absolutely bloody out there. The jokes, the banter, and everything's been happening, and it's mainly between Ghana and Nigeria. Imagine, Ghana are not even in the competition, no. And yet they are heavily involved in the banter wars post the AFCON final. Guys, how did we even land here? How did Ghana get involved in this?
No, you see, this is not about how Ghana got. They got us involved. After every single win, Ghana, it was bad, you know, and the Ghanaians were called in their corner, quietly taking it. I mean, it got so bad, I even felt sad for South Africans. It was so bad. And you see, the thing, when they even won against the Cameroonians and Angola, they can't banter them properly. So they are like, these people, they can't speak French. Ghana, they are not nice to banter. Ghana is here for us. They just gave it to us. Honestly, I think Nigeria never recovered from that World Cup loss. I think they
are still very hurt.
They're still pissed about that World Cup, especially the fact that we won in Nigeria.
Well, we technically drew.
We drew, yeah.
It kills them because they believe they had a better team. Since that time, and I think since the promotion of social media, and you see, if you watch around, people will think Ghana and Nigeria are literally next door neighbors. There are 2 countries that separate us. But I think the language, because we both speak English, it's easier to banter Ghanaians because we would understand you than to banter Ivorians or whatever. But yesterday, Ghanaians really held the fort for the Ivorians. We've been conjugating ethro since our childhood. We are here for them.
Well, what else can you say? Like Safo rightly said, anytime Nigeria beats a country from the knockout stages, it's Ghana that catches the heat. We caught the heat after they beat Cameroon. We caught the heat after they beat Angola. We caught the heat after they beat South Africa. And we are having the last laugh.
I see.
At the end of it all. So what do you expect? Clearly, we are not going to sit down and
you're saying that Ghanaians have been waiting for this.
We have been waiting.
And if you want to truly understand this, anybody who listens to ESPN should try to catch the ESPN Gab and Juice show on Thursday. They had a Nigerian pundit on who was supposed to be neutral. He spent like 6 minutes bantering the whole African continent about how good Nigerian is. So they honestly had this come.
They had this
honestly. I really wish we could pull up tweets of how they bantered everyone throughout about how Ghana must go. Ghana didn't see this coming. All of those things.
I see.
Naira did Nigeria.
All right. Now, if you go on social, there are all kinds of interesting comments. Now, this one says, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, except in Nigeria. I don't even know who cooked up this. This is ridiculous. All right, let's move on. This one says, no AFCON, no Grammy, no Amapiano, and certainly not leading with currency, but Nigeria says they own Africa. What does Nigeria mean? And it says, we still own Africa. Well, anyway. This one says, so what if Nigeria wins the Champions League? What will Ghanaians do? And there's a laughing emoji there. This one says, Nigerians want to switch the conversation to Jollof arguments, but Ghanaians no grief for Una. Okay, and it goes on and on and on. Just so many tweets. Says, being successful is beautiful and fulfilling, but Nigeria's loss yesterday has shown me that failure of your enemy hits different. If Ghana had won the World Cup, I wouldn't be happy like this, because the GFA will come and tell us they used $20 million. And there are all kinds of things, TikTok videos. Oh man, it's so funny just watching some of these things. There's a picture of, I think, a Nigerian. Zoho. The second choice goalkeeper there. This is one of my favorites. It says, Nigeria have the ego of the USA, population of China, juju of India, but talent of San Marino. And it says, poor Omo Niger. And there's a picture of an elephant sitting on an eagle. This is heartless and wicked. Whoever drew this is wickedness. This one is from Kali J, one of the most popular Ghanaian persons on social. It says, you can't banter Nigeria and win. And then it says, they think we want to win. They think it's a competition. They think we are tweeting to make them laugh. And they are laughing emojis here. And there's Acrobato, our favorite uncle. All right. This one says, due to the frequent blackouts in Nigeria, CAF offered to give each Nigerian player an official a generator instead of the finalist money. Clearly, this is not true, but for jokes. Wow, this is nasty. This is absolutely nasty. I cannot believe.
Go up a bit, that joke. Where is the biscuit?
Where is the biscuit? We have no idea.
Cameroon.
It says Cameroon. What biscuit? Ghana says, ask Nigeria. And then Nigeria responds, Yari.
With you.
The people who are doing this, look, to borrow the words of that woman, there's God, oh. You can't be doing this. This is
Ghanaians are delivering. We expected them to deliver. And
this one says Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria enjoying together. And then there's a video there. And it says Ghana and Nigeria police bosses. There's another video. It's just so. There's somebody from Kenya. Well, it looks like the handle has a Kenyan flag. It says Victor Osimhen got emotional after Nigeria lost to Cote d'Ivoire. He claims the stadium was too bright and that Nigerians are used to darkness. This is wickedness. This is wickedness there. And then Lesilo ruler, clearly a South African, says, Nigeria, really wake up. We have not forgotten.
This guy really suffered on Thursday. He really suffered.
So, wow, those are some of the things happening. This one says, if Richard Ofori no touch the ball, like Ivory Coast will not have qualified, Nigeria might have been champions. And it says, thank you, Richard. So, Richard Ofori getting drawn in. Wow. Anyway, so those are just some of the comments on social. People are just having a right old laugh at the Nigerians. But look, like I said, it's nothing personal. It's nothing. It's just one of those bands. I saw a Nigerian tweet this morning, and I really liked it. He says, listen, those who are getting emotional, he finds it funny. We were dishing it out, and they are dishing it back to us. Why should we get upset if that happens?
You did it the first time. You did it the second time. We were quiet. In fact, there's a very popular and a very funny one that is a cartoon. Someone did a cartoon of Nigerians lashing some people. So it had lined up the countries that they had beaten, plus Ghana.
They didn't even meet us.
Ghana, you didn't play Ghana. And that was the cartoon showing them lashing. And the guy was lashing the South African who was holding a Grammy award. And then he was in
the cargo.
Exactly. The cartoon guy asks, Who is talking at the back there? He says, "Oh my Ghana, are you the one?" Then he had to lash Ghana for doing nothing. So that's what we've been subjected to.
And I like good sports, and I like someone like Victor Boniface.
Yeah.
Victor Boniface has been a good sport throughout. Whenever Nigeria wins, he laughs at Ghanaians, he laughs at Coach Sheldon, whatever. Yeah. But yesterday, he was a very good sport at it. I like Odumodu. They are all being very good sports. You know, the thing about banter is some people do not really know how to take banter. I mean, they are driving it at levels. And I think the majority of Nigerians are good sports. There are just a few bad nuts in there who want to take it to extreme levels. They are, put your Olympic gold medal on. I'm like, oh, put your under 20 gold medal also on. Like, it happens. And for Nigerians, I'll always maintain this. You've not been able to beat Ghana at senior men's football in 18 years. The last time, think about it. Yeah. The last time Nigeria beat Ghana was at the 2006 African Cup. Ghana beat them in the 2007 friendlies. We beat them at CAN 2008. Yeah. We beat them at CAN 2010. They had the opportunity to beat us at this qualified. They couldn't do that. So, baby, calm down. Calm down.
Wow, this is mean. All right, let's stay with the lighter things. Let's see the Ivorian ambassador. Now, the Ivorian ambassador is Felix Tanon. Felix Tanon. He was at his residence, the official residence here in Ghana, watching the AFCON final. Let's see how he took it all in as his home country won the 2023 AFCON. So we'll give you a video of him dancing, and then we'll hear his thoughts on the final.
La Côte d'Ivoire inspirante.
All right, so that was His Excellency Felix Tanon. He's the Ivorian ambassador to Ghana. You can see him there dancing, hopping, jumping. Why not? Why not, really? His country's won there. Wow, guys, it's interesting seeing the ambassador letting his hair down and just enjoying himself.
I don't know. I don't know what I'll do when Ghana wins any major tournament at the senior level. It's the experience that a lot of people look forward to. You just can't quantify it. I remember so well in 2008 when United won the Champions League against Chelsea. I did something in my area. Everyone kept looking at me. Is that how you are? We never knew. I just lost my senses. Yeah. I ran out of the house with just a short and a singlet. Yes. And I was just literally, I was just counting all the Chelsea fans I know in the area, just went to their house one by one. And I went to sit down. After a day or two, I sat back and I asked myself, what did I do? What did I just do? I mean,
I've heard crazy stories.
It's just...
You experienced that final in Ghana. I experienced that final in Benin. I watched it in the pub, crowded pub in Benin, where the place was so crowded that if you stood on the ground, you wouldn't see the television. So I had to stand on a chair and hold the beams of the roof, right? And as soon as chaos, I was with my best friend and we were running around crazy. So it can happen. It can happen. Safi, you were there. You were enjoying the game with the Ivorians. How was it? Just a few thoughts on that. Then we'll hear from the ambassador.
I think I was at Ivorian embassy watching the game. Before we went there, they were already in a jubilant mood. It's like, why are you already in a jubilant mood? Yeah. And you see, the thing with the Ivorians too, and emotions I have experienced is, their highs are their highs and their lows are their lows. Immediately they scored them. The place was so dead quiet. You wouldn't even know that anything has happened. And immediately they scored the first, they scored the second. I mean, it was bonkers. And all I kept on thinking was, look at this joy. If this is Ghana, what would I be doing? What would I have done? And you see, and that's why it's a clarion call to our leaders, the football administrators, that football is not just, even cast your mind back to when coach is talking about you may kiss the cup and all of those things. This is Manchester United. Manchester United is getting you this way. So imagine what Ghana would get you into. And I remember the under 20, even under 20 back in the days, Soloku used to be a thing in Ghana. Exactly. I remember even 2008 when Ghana was hosting. I was young, but I remember my father packing all of us into his Pajero. When town was crowded, we had beaten Nigeria 2-1 in the quarterfinals with 10 men down, and it was I remember my area was so crowded. The Soloku was a thing. That's when you call proper Soloku. But these days we've lost that because, and you see, it should be a thing to our sports administrators. But if you do it well, you don't just become happy. We are happy. The country is happy. Everyone forgets about their troubles, their worries, or everything. So. And I was happy seeing people go through that and people getting excited. It's just a clarion call. We need to get our football right, because I would relate more with Kumasi Asante Kotoko or Heart of Oak doing the impossible, winning the CAF Champions League. I would be motivated to go to the stadium because Heart is performing. And I always say this, in 3-4 years, the only reason why, I think one of the reasons why the GPO was getting enough traction was because Heart was performing. They were coming back to their winning ways. So I would go to a stadium. I'm not a Hearts fan, but just to go hate, I would go to the stadium to go support Olympics. You get that? We need to get our football right as Ghanaians. It's a lesson to us because the Ivorians, even when we were there, whenever Ivory Coast is playing football, no school, nothing, everyone is at home. And I think that's basically all I could think about yesterday, that if we get it right, if we get our football right, if our clubs are performing, if our national team is performing, you would get Ghanaians onto the street. We would bring back the old days, the glory days too. So that's how I go. I just can't put a word to it. It was bonkers.
I see.
It was bonkers.
All right, we'll hear from the Ivorian ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Felix Asielu Tano. Then we'll hear from, Safo mentioned Hearts of Oak. We hear from Hearts of Oak's bankroller, their majority shareholder, Toby Apede the 14th. He was also there watching the AFCON. So first we'll hear from the Ivorian ambassador and then Toby Apede the 14th.
I read that when Jesus was going to the cross, he fell down. And they said his name is Peter of Cyrene, come to help him. And after, you win. And I'm sure that we will win. I don't know how we will do, but I'm sure that we will win. I told to my colleague, to my brother, to my family that we will win. Yes. Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana is the same country. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. It's for that. My name is Asielu. In Côte d'Ivoire, we say Asielu. In Ghana, we say Asiedu. I have one left in Ghana, another in Côte d'Ivoire. May God bless us.
The moment Ghana got knocked out, I became Ivorian for this tournament. And I told my brother, the ambassador, before this match, that the way the matches have gone, I believe Ivory Coast was destined to win. beyond our wildest imaginations. After all the failures, the 4-0 loss and all of that, nobody thought Ivory Coast would qualify. Nobody gave Ivory Coast a dog's chance. So once they did, I thought a miracle was on the way. So I told him that I believe Ivory Coast was going to set a record on the basis of, what they had gone through and what eventually would turn out. They'll become champions, and their victory would be a big surprise given the journey they had traversed.
All right, so that was October the 14th, and then Felix Asielu Tanon, who is the Ivorian ambassador to Ghana. They were all at the residence of the Ivorian ambassador enjoying the final. Safo was there hiding in the back somewhere. I'm sure you were up to your old tricks. All righty, now let's have a look at the game itself. The game itself. The reason why all this is happening, the reason why the Ivorians are happy, the reason why the Nigerians are disconsolate, and the reason why social media and everywhere is alive and is gone absolutely haywire. Let's get the highlights. Côte d'Ivoire 2, Nigeria 1, the final of the 2023 AFCON tournament. Wow, for the third time in the history of La Côte d'Ivoire, they are AFCON winners. 1992, they won on penalties. 2015, they won on penalties. And in 2023, they managed to win in regulation time. The first country to host and win since Egypt did it in 2006. Guys, that's a very interesting time period. So which means after Egypt, nobody could host and win.
Yeah.
And it didn't even look like Côte d'Ivoire were going to do it.
Yeah.
But they did.
Okay,
Safo.
For a country that has had a very poor showing at the AFCON ever since they won it in 2015, they've never been the Côte d'Ivoire of old.
Okay.
After winning it.
You know what? You just hold your thoughts. I think that we should get rid of all our inserts first.
Yeah.
Then we have a bit more time to chit chat. So just apologies for that. Let's hear from Scott Gillan. Now, Scott Gillan is a football analyst, loves his African football, loves to watch a lot of things African football. He had a few thoughts to share on the final, where he thought the game was won or lost, and just dissect the game from his perspective. So let's hear what Scott Gillan had to say.
Yeah, I think, well, look, on the flip side to the Ivorians' very proactive, positive approach, you had the Nigerian approach, which, having come into the tournament looking like they were going to be proactive and positive, they had just an absolute array of attacking talent, some doubts about their midfield depth, and then reasonable volume of defenders. But Pesero then sort of suddenly changed his approach going into game two, where the more offensive kind of 4-2-4 failed to produce a result in the first game. He decided that actually what he was going to do was play this sort of 5-2-3, 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it, formation, be extremely tight at the back and be completely reliant on essentially the quality of your attackers to produce individual moments in isolation situations. There was very little offensive cohesion. There was so little coordination between players. Players were being asked to do things very much, I said, in isolation, 1v1, sometimes 1v2, 1v3, even 1v4, being asked to sort of make something happen. But this is based on being very stout at the back, conceding 0 or 1 goals a game, and hoping that you can create something, whether it's a set piece, whether it's getting a penalty, or someone else creating some moment of magic to actually keep you going in games and eke out results. And Nigeria ultimately made to pay for that in the final. They didn't come to play. They continue to look very offensively disorganised, disconnected, lacking in plans. And when that's the case, and when you come up against a team who are wanting to dominate possession, that can be difficult, and it puts you in a situation where, when you come up against a team with the quality that the Ivory Coast have, firstly, they can hurt you in a way that perhaps some of the other teams in Nigeria have faced weren't able to, in this tournament. And equally, those moments of individual quality that you're looking for your attackers are just fundamentally harder to generate when you're playing against better defenders. And I think we saw that the Ivorian defence and the Ivorian defenders were able to contain the likes of Samuel Chukwueze, Ademola Lookman and Victor Osimhen, and Nigeria just didn't have the reinforcements, didn't have the rest of that offensive quality, whether it was cohesion, whether it was just more bodies coming forwards to really unsettle the Ivorians. And so they didn't carry that. They weren't able to create those, flashes of offensive moments really that they were looking to create, or that they would have otherwise looked to create. And then on the defensive side, they were under more pressure than they perhaps have been. They had to face more quality than they perhaps have had to face. And I think Simon Adingra in particular was obviously causing them massive issues. And then in addition to that, unfortunately, if you are going to be a team that has to be very tight at the back, you can't afford to have the types of disastrous defensive organisational failures that they had for the equalising goal, because there wasn't a routine to free up Kessié on the back post. He was just standing from the moment they were setting up to take that corner. He was just standing free, and no one picked him up. So I think Nigeria ultimately made to pay for their negative approach. The fact that approach ultimately didn't mesh hugely well with the quality that the Ivorians had, because the Nigerians weren't able to create those moments that they look for in attack. They were facing a more dangerous attack than they've had to face, and then ultimately also had the defensive organisational failures themselves. So they were ultimately made to pay for being negative, and they were poor as a result. They didn't carry an attacking threat really. And they were under pressure for large parts of the game, and even the counter-attacking threat was severely hamstrung ultimately. So in some respects, credit to the Ivory Coast. In many respects, in fact, credit to the Ivory Coast, but equally a shame that Nigeria just really didn't come to play and probably didn't give the attacking players that they do have the opportunity to really show the quality that they have.
All right, so that was Scott Gillan, football analyst, African football analyst, giving his thoughts on what he felt went wrong for the Nigerians as they played in that final. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll get to Abidjan, do 1 or 2 interviews, and then we'll dissect the final from our perspective. What went wrong for Nigeria? What went right for La Côte d'Ivoire? We'll pick out the main bones of the competition and wrap it all up a little later. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. The show is proudly sponsored by Bet Power. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. My guests, Kwame Bafo and Kwame Safo, are still here. The show is proudly brought to us by Bet Power. If you want the best payouts, the best odds, an all-round and a great all-round betting experience, Bet Power should be your friend. All right, let's get to the Zoom. Let me speak to my very good friend John Boafo. We've been speaking to him from day one of the competition, and we are speaking to him on the last episode of the AFCON Daily Show. John, if you can hear me, good. Is it afternoon? Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, and congratulations to La Côte d'Ivoire.
Good afternoon, Nathan. Thanks for having me. And yeah, sorry if my voice sounds a bit off. I've been screaming quite a lot and celebrating.
Wow. How is Abidjan on the day after the AFCON? How is Abidjan still reeling from the chaos or the enjoyment of Sunday night?
So this morning I went for my morning walk. I walked around my neighborhood, and it seemed like one of those Sundays in Accra where not that many people are around because they're in church or they're sleeping or something. And it's similar. So I think that last night people were able to enjoy the win, being able to go to clubs, go out and celebrate with their family and friends. And this morning was quite calm. But I know that at 3 p.m. there's the celebratory parade that's going to go all around Abidjan, and I think that Abidjan is going to come back to life. People are going to be in the streets. They're going to be really excited about this event, and there'll be joy, especially that today is a holiday in the country. So we're trying to all come out in masses and celebrate the 27 warriors and the coach and the coaching staff that were able to bring this third trophy back. Well, keep it here in Abidjan.
I see. How are fans taking all of this? I'm sure there are some fans who are in shock. I'm sure there are some fans who are happy. But generally, what are people saying about this AFCON win? Yes, I know when you host a competition, you say, oh, you want to win. But how many people are in shock that the Ivorians have actually hosted and won the competition?
I think most people are in shock that they were able to host and win, because like you said earlier, no nation has been able to host AFCON and win since 2006 with Egypt. So the general expectation was for the team to do well, maybe to the semis, and everyone would be happy. But game 2 and game 3 were disastrous, and so people kind of had lost hope until they beat this Senegalese team, and then basically the resurrection of Les Éléphants was in full effect. Yesterday, on my way to the stadium, I took the bus, and we were about maybe 50 people in the bus, and people had this certain level of expectation that at least to see 11 people, 11 warriors on the pitch give their all to try to win the game. And even when they conceded that first goal, the header from Trust Ekong, it seemed like it was inevitable that this Les Éléphants team would still come back and win. I was there with a couple Nigerians, sitting next to a couple Nigerians, and one of them on the bus was telling me that he had actually bet for Nigeria to win the whole tournament, but seeing the vibe before getting to the stadium, and then when he got to the stadium, he changed his bet, and he said that, okay, Nigeria would probably win the first half, but overall, this Ivorian team would win. So he goes home with a little bit more money in his pocket, but
yeah, he made a wise choice.
Nigeria, definitely a wise choice.
I see. John, I mean, it's you've experienced the competition from start to finish. When you speak to people who are the standout performers from an Ivorian perspective, which names are still on the lips of the fans 24 hours or so after the competition has ended?
So the man of the match yesterday, Simon Ndungura, has become really a fan favorite. Yesterday, when they announced his name, people were just going mad at the stadium, clapping and screaming, really excited about him coming out. And then Sebastian Haller, I mean, what a story of determination, a story of grit, a story of someone who really, despite his poor start this year at Dortmund, with only 2 goals from 14 matches, has been able to come in and really do his part to help this Les Éléphants team to win their third championship, the third AFCON. So those are really the 2 players that have stood out. But to be honest, everyone's really grateful for the group of 27, and the coach has also become a huge fan favorite. Regardless of whether or not he's able to sign as the full-time coach, I think that he'll still stay as a legend in the game, because 4 games that he managed, and in 4 games he's able to win the AFCON. We know of other coaches that have managed far more games than that and even come close to winning the AFCON. So, a chapeau to him and to the rest of the team as well.
I see you mentioned that there would be a parade later today. Have you heard anything on a reward, like prize money? I mean, what are the players getting for winning this competition? Have you heard of any nice packages that President Ouattara will be giving to these gentlemen?
So I haven't heard about anything like that, but I'm sure it's something that is standard practice. But it's funny though, because it really hasn't been much of the conversation. The conversation hasn't really been about extrinsic rewards, money or lands or cars or all that kind of stuff. It's really been about been ensuring that they do the best that they can to make the country very proud. So I know that as a winner of the AFCON, they'll win about 7 million that will go to the FA. How much of that is going to go to the players, I'm not sure. But I think at this point, the players kind of don't care. They're going to be legends, especially players like Aurier and Max Alain Gradel. I mean, winning AFCON twice is something that is legendary, and we'll always remember it. Safo, it's a shame that you had to go back to Ghana and you weren't able to experience this historic moment in Ebimpe last night.
Wow. Let's talk about the competition on a whole. You went to practically all the Cote d'Ivoire games. You saw a lot of the Ghana games. You've been around the country. What do you think this AFCON does to Cote d'Ivoire in terms of image, profile, And what consequences will there be? Will there be social impact? I mean, just talk to us about what this AFCON will leave for the country of La Côte d'Ivoire.
I think more than economically, the people of La Côte d'Ivoire are going to be in a good place. Because if you look at as recent as 2010, there was conflict in the country, and that led to a level of confusion, a level of discord in the country that you really don't want to see within the region. But in that short amount of time, they were able to win in 2015 and now win again in 2024. So that's one of the positive impacts they're going to have. But then looking on the economic side, the investments that were put into the infrastructure, the investments that were put into the stadiums is something that will be somewhat of a legacy for this President Ouattara. People online today were joking about how the president should probably just run and stay for a fourth presidency as well. So people have a love for the leaders, a love for the FA as well, and then also a love for the players, because you could see it. There was a huge connection between the fans and the players. The fans understood the assignment that they had. They had to be there as a 12th man, to be screaming, to be supporting the team in times where they were struggling a bit, and they were able to get that done. And in the end, everyone is going to be out tonight. Well, they were out yesterday, but they'll be out today at 3 p.m. to be able to celebrate this heroic team.
All right, just finally, John, you've seen a lot of things in this competition. What will be the image that stays with you forever and ever in relation to the 2023 AFCON?
So most people that know me know that I'm kind of stoic, but yesterday's closing ceremony literally put a tear to my eye. Just the emotion that you could feel it in the atmosphere. The people were really, really excited to be there, and we're looking forward to this final. Everything from the beginning to the end of this closing ceremony was just on point. And so that's probably one of the things that I'll remember, that final day, from the closing ceremony to the epic match, that 2-1 victory, to people just celebrating in the streets and being visibly really, really happy. And yeah, just the joy that you can see in people's faces that this Elephant team has been able to bring to them.
I see. John, thank you so much. Félicitations aux éléphants. Ils sont les nouveaux champions de AFCON. Et félicitations à toi. Tu étais là depuis le début jusqu'à maintenant, donc tu as bien fait.
Merci. And I invite all of you guys, it's not too late, take the plane and come and celebrate with us at 3 p.m.
Yeah, we'll see if we can catch the earliest flight. John, thank you so much, and congrats once again.
Thanks.
All right, that was John Boafo in Abidjan. He's experienced the AFCON up close and personal. I kind of envy everybody who felt a bit of it. You guys, you didn't take me along.
John actually helped get my ticket for the Ghana-Egypt game through you. It was great meeting John.
Yes,
in person, very, very great.
Edwin Kakofi is joining us. Edwin, how are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, very good. Not my prediction, Ivory Coast winning the tournament. I actually predicted them to bounce out ages ago.
The Ivorians are looking for you.
Really, really badly, but it didn't work out. And with the excitement that I'm seeing from the Ivorians and how our Ghanaian friends have taken the fight to the Nigerians on social media, I guess maybe I'm happy now that they've won it.
Now that they've won. I see. But shout out to our very good friend Yao Frimpong. He actually called it. He actually called it on Friday. Yeah. He said Cote d'Ivoire would win by 2-1. Yeah. As to how he called it,
I watched Yao make that.
And he called the semi-final too. Then South Africans would lose on penalties. Wow, amazing stuff.
The Panthers should be looking.
Yeah, I need to get in touch with him. Yeah, maybe I don't know whether he can predict my life. Safu, you're making your point earlier. Then we'll listen to.
Yeah, I was saying for a country that has been disappointing in previous AFCONs ever since winning it, you would. This is the kind of reaction you would expect for them, and this is a lesson to us as a nation too, because we've not been at our best since AFCON 2017. They lost to Egypt. I didn't even know what happened to them in the previous AFCONs. And this is an Ivory Coast team that has always been threatening AFCON after AFCON. It seems after the death of their golden generation, nothing has been happening for them. But my concern is going to be, they are supposed to take in this moment. But the question is, out of that environment in which they are comfortable, are they going to still be the threat on an African plane? What's the route for the Simon Adingress? How long are they going to get the best of the Sekou Fofanas and the Frankeses and the series? Because that midfield is an aging midfield. What's going to happen? Who are the people going to replace them? But I guess in the moment, that's not what they are going to be questioning. They are going to enjoy the moment, and that's how I look at it going forward. What are we going to expect from them in Morocco? Are they still going to have that same expectation, or it's just we've won the third title? Because you see, the thing about football is it's always evolving. Clarion Call to Ghana too. Nigeria were this close to becoming 4-time champions as we were. When we won our 4th championship, Egypt had 3, Cameroon had 2. Now those 2 are ahead of us. Now the countries with the 3rd place are inching closer with every AFCON. And the thing with the AFCON is it's 2 years. What are we doing to make sure that we get closer to the top rather than drop? And you see, I think this is what I see. From what I have seen, Ghana as a country, we do not learn our lessons. Are we still going to be in this shape where we do not learn our lessons, or we are going to pick up, learn our lessons, and make sure that because 42 years is too long a time. It's too long a time. I have seen Nigerians win. We will sit there, Togo and Benin would come and win, and we will still be saying we've not won in 42 years. Something has to give. I think as a country, I always feel sad when I was telling my Ivorian friend that we are reaping what we are sowing. It has become a monetization of our football more than basking in our glory. You see, it doesn't matter whether you are for the ruling government, you are for the ruling football administrator. And I always keep on saying, if you do our football well and we win, nobody will care who was the president at that time. It is Ghana that has won. But there seems to be, look at the joy there. If we are not complainers, we are not whiners, we do not just rant. People do not go on. Veronica is not talking all because she wants to whine. Sadiq is not talking all and it's a lesson to those journalists who do not see the bigger picture. It's not really about that. It's about we all want to be happy. But if the focus is on this is my Black Stars, this is my teammates, you don't see it as a national team, you do not want to take people's input, you do not want to take older players' input, you just call them out and rubbish them and disrespect them, then we still have a long way to go. Okay. People would come from 2 and they'll come and surpass us. We need to get it right. AFCON is just next year. We need to get it right as a country. I want to feel this joy that Ivorians are feeling, because if I'm this happy because Nigeria didn't win, I'll be so excited if Ghana wins. I'll go crazy. I see. We really need to have that enjoyment in this country. Kwame?
Well, where are we taking it from? I don't want to get into the Ghana rant. It will take me to another dimension. Okay. But for the Ivorians, it's something great. They beat Ghana twice to the trophy. They've now beaten Nigeria to it. So Ghana and Ghana's best friend have all been beaten by the Ivorians. And I've sat here and I've spoken a lot about the Ivorians, what they've gone through. It's an evolution in the tournament. A country that went into the tournament, hosted the tournament, felt they could get something out of the tournament with one of the best paid coaches in Gase. First game won, second game lost to Nigeria, embarrassingly crashed on the verge of crashing out after losing 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea. Now you watch that game and you watch the body language of the players, the body language of the whole country, and you could see there is a disconnect. That there is a key decision that is made. Get rid of the coach. Let's see what we can get out of competition. Even at the point where they asked the coach to step aside, they were not too sure whether they are staying in the competition or they were not. So it was a big gamble that we are giving it to a guy who we gave our under-23 side to, who messed up in MS5. So, MS, take up the mantle and let's see what you can get out of the team. Now, that is where I give him a lot of plaudits for what he's done to the team. I mean, making some key decisions, trying to, get Ibrahim Sangare out, bringing Jean-Michel Seri, bringing in more of the experienced guys. Sergio Aurier comes back, drops Frank Kessier. We all saw Frank Kessier's body language in the game against Equatorial Guinea. And you could see the fight amongst the team on the pitch as the game was ongoing. And all of these things had gone on. He rallied the whole nation, he rallied the team, and they've been able to get to this level. I mean, it's a beautiful story. There are so many subplots in this. The Sebastian Haller story, fought cancer, had a very, very difficult time, gets into it, scored the goal in the semi-final that gets them into the final, scored a very beautiful, he had a bicycle kick that would have,
deserved to be.
It would have put a whole cherry on the ice. I mean, make the whole final, scored a spectacular goal, but it went just a little bit over, and then he got the goal. So there's a whole lot of stories to this Ivorian win and all of that, and it's been amazing. Maybe after that we'll get into the Nigerian bit and why I felt the approach wasn't great to the final. They were just off. They just decided not to show up in the final. I still can't understand why Pissarro took Moses Simon out of the... there's a lot more to talk about Nigeria.
You mentioned that. Let's have a look at some numbers, some game stats, and maybe those will form the basis of what we are doing there. You could... looks like the Nigerians are on my right, I believe. The Ivorians on the left. I'm not too...
Ivorians on the right.
The Ivorians on the right. The Nigerians on the left. And you can see the numbers. The possession count went a lot more in favor of the Ivorians. A lot of the matrix went in their favor. Shots and all of those things. All of the things going in the favor or in favor of the Ivorians. And effectively, they won that game by 2-1 in Abidjan. So for the stat buffs, these are some numbers for you to chew on. There you have it. Possession lost in the defensive half, duels. So you notice they were very even in the duels, but the success rate of the Ivorians higher than that of the Nigerians. And it spoke a lot to really what was making the difference on the day. More successful dribbles, more aerial battles won, more fouls won, if you like. So these are some. All right, let's have a look at some other numbers in terms of the attacking stats. Okay, so there you have it. The Ivorians, 2 goals, 18 shots, 8 on target. Look at Nigeria's shot on target count, 1.
That was the goal.
1. Just 1. Okay, the Ivorians shot better. They had a better shooting accuracy. So when you look at the numbers, you are not too surprised. You are not too surprised. Let's move on to more numbers. The distribution. So the Ivorians passed the ball a lot more. But the Nigerians played longer. They went longer, and then the Ivorians had just about, they had a lot more passes in the half of the Nigerians, and it goes on and on and on and on. All right, now this is the passing sequence for the Ivorians. This is averagely how they were passing the ball. And you could see that the left-hand side was very strong. The left-hand side was very, very strong. The number 3, number 24, very, very, very strong there. Stronger than the right-hand side slightly. So the Ivorians favored, they leaned more towards their left-hand side. And, that's really what they did. The Nigerians, you could tell they were stronger, closer to their own box. The rest of the network feels very light. So clearly they couldn't get the ball to move around. And Kwame, I think you were speaking about the things Nigeria were not doing right.
I was very much surprised at the approach, to be very honest. Clearly they have an issue with the midfield. Having to play Onyenka, a central midfielder, and a player whose
Alex
position has undergone a lot of reconstruction. I mean, Alex Iwobi has played in the wings, has played as a number 10, and now having to play a bit more deeper. Yes, it's worked throughout the tournament, but in a final where a lot is at stake, you would have wished that there is an extra body in there to help. I mean, if the coach was reading the game right, he would have known that, okay, after the first 20, 30 minutes, yeah, we got a goal and other things, but our midfield was still not doing as you'd expect. Now, they went long because they felt that, yes, the Ivorians, or they decided to cede the midfield to the Ivorians. Now, ceding the midfield to the Ivorians means that they were going to go a bit more longer, try to, play in behind, because they felt that the Ivorians are going to push a lot more forward. If you could see, the Ivorians had a lot more, if you check the average position, they had their central defenders a lot more closer to the center half. So play it behind for Chukwueze or Ademola Lookman to be able to pick the ball, run in behind, and cause havoc by laying the pass to Osimhen, or trying to even get the ball to Osimhen to be able to, wrestle with Kosunu. And Kosunu played so well yesterday. It's like the disaster that happened in that game against Mali. He had gone, reanalyzed everything that he did in that game and decided not to, cause any of these things. And it was fantastic. He won aerial duels with Osimhen, some resulting in fouls and all of that. Beyond that, his ball playing showed yesterday. You saw the passes that he was sending, those diagonal balls. And at a point, it was his shots that led to the corner that made the Ivorians get the equalizer in that game. He did everything right. So the Nigerians decided to sit back. I would have expected, yes, you go into games with a game plan. And when you go into games with a game plan, there is a point where you read the game as a technical man and decide to make certain switches to be able to influence the game. And that's why I fault Pissarro for not making those in-game tactical switches to be able to, counter a lot of the decisions that the Ivorians were getting right. Because the stats are there to show. They were winning duels. It meant more to them. If a team wins duels, it tells you the level of energy that they are putting into it, that will not allow you pick up a certain ball or anything. And that's exactly what the Ivorians did on the day. So I wasn't so surprised at, the way the Ivorians decided to do, because it meant a lot more to them. But then I was surprised at the Nigerians failing to match them boot for boot on that. They have been running with the mantra, no grief for anybody, but this time around, they agreed for the Ivorians to match them and to be able to overpower them. Just look at the combination. I made mention of the combination between Conan, Jean-Michel Seri, and then now you could see Indika, Seko Fofana. You could see the triangle of passes that was ongoing there. Seri gets the ball. Before you could realize, he makes a quick switch to Max Gradel to also, try and make some incursions on the right. That's a team with a plan. A team that clearly knew exactly what they were going to do in the game, and everything showed in that game. And Adingra was on top form yesterday. I'm sure Ola Aina will go and sit and ask himself, what the hell happened to me yesterday? Because just look at how amount of spaces that he was afforded, how much he was able to, go beyond and go in behind him, and even isolating him on a lot more 1v1 situations, which is a strength for Adingra. That's why I am still finding it very difficult to understand Pissarro. If you were reading the game, you could have noticed a lot of these things and, make certain adjustments to be able to curtail some of these things. And he was just there, rather fighting referees and fighting fourth officials for certain decisions not going their way. So clearly, the Nigerian coach failed on the day, did not read the game well enough to make the necessary adjustments and allow the Ivorians to impose their game on them. And Adingra, once again, that cut, the way he was able to cut the ball with his leg, give himself a space to send it across for Haller to, tap it into the post. That was excellent. That was a man on form. No wonder he's becoming the poster boy for them now, based on the qualities that he's showing. An excellent player by all standards.
All right, Simon Adingra getting a lot of love and positive review from Kwame Bafo on the AFCON Daily Show. Let's get to the touch part. Edwin Kwakofi is here. Edwin, it's quite amazing seeing Cote d'Ivoire do their thing, but I'm sure there was a method to what it is they were doing, and I'm sure they played their part in ensuring that Nigeria would not be too potent on the day.
They absolutely did. They definitely set up in a way that allowed them to exploit Nigeria's weaknesses and also, complement their own strengths. And I think you've done a pretty wonderful assessment of how both teams set up. But I'd like us to take a look at how they started the game initially. So this is first few minutes, first few seconds anyway, just 30 seconds into the game. And you have a clear idea of how the Ivory Coast have set up in this one. So we're going to take a look at this. They have their 2 center backs. So there's 2. They have 3 players over here. 3. 2 in midfield, and then 3 up front. So this is basically a 2-3-2-3 formation. Why this helps will become very apparent soon. But on the face of it, 3 attackers, 2 wingers constantly supporting Haller on the same side. They widen the pitch anytime they have the ball to allow Haller to deal with 2 defenders on his own, or these 3 defenders on his own. And then that's where Frank Kessié and Fofana are very important, because they will then run in between the lines, join the attack as much as possible. They were giving the license to join the attack as much as possible. Jean-Michel Seri, they knew they were going to have a lot of possession, so he was a sole man in the middle of the park to probably stop any attacks that get beyond the 2 in behind the front 3. Then you have the full backs who, anytime Ivory Coast have the ball, they'll push forward and join Michel Seri in midfield, basically making a midfield 3 to provide some balance on either side of the pitch. Nigeria were not able to cope with that too much. So this is them, Ivory Coast, in possession. Now we move it further. They have the ball. You can see perfect structure. Even when Simon Adingra comes back to receive the ball, he immediately runs back. Conan joins the midfield 3, and the structure is set again. The ball is played over the top by Kusiono. It doesn't, it's cleared, but you can see that this is a strategy they wanted to employ. Out of possession, Haller becomes the sole man. Sorry, we'll take that out. Haller becomes the sole person up front because he is the main striker. Simon Adingra drops back even further than Sekou Fofana. Fofana joins Frank Kessié, and they become a 2 behind Haller. And the other 2 who are more mobile, quicker, Adingra and Max Gradel, move even further back to join Jean-Michel Seri to make it another balanced midfield there. Then you have your full-backs going back to join the centre-backs to ensure that Osimhen has another player to deal with in case he gets the ball. So the ball is eventually played forward, pass to Osimhen, but then he has more bodies to deal with because the Ivory Coast have all sat back. One thing I want to point out is the difference between how Ivory Coast wingers and Nigeria's wingers set up. And this explains why one team was better in attack than the other. Clear setup of how Nigeria in attack. Look at the starting positions of both of Nigeria's wingers. Sorry, Look at the starting positions of the supporting players for Osimhen. All of them are well behind Osimhen. And eventually, as the ball goes forward, Nigeria loses it and Ivory Coast take possession. Once the Ivory Coast gets possession, we'll take a look at the starting positions of the supporting players for Haller. So once it goes forward, immediately, the 2 wingers, Adingra and Max Gradel, join Haller. They are on the same line as him.
Okay.
This creates more options for the passes. They can either find Gradel, who is hugging the touchline on the right, find Adingra, who is hugging the touchline on the left, or go through the middle to Haller, who can challenge with a couple of defenders. If, in case the ball doesn't get to any of those, Frank Kessié and Sekou Fofana join the attack and ensure that there are numbers to win the second ball. This was a strategy the Ivory Coast were using constantly and consistently throughout the game. So there's always support for Haller on the side. There's always backup in case they need to have the second ball. In this case, Victor Osimhen commits the foul. And this was a constant feature for Nigeria as well, consistently committing fouls to ensure that the Ivory Coast did not have significant movement. Even in cases where Lookman and Chukwueze were close to Victor Osimhen, were in positions where they could have an attack. It seems there was this fear in the Nigerian team where they knew they had to drop back anyway. They were more focused on defense than they were on the attack. So even when they were close to Osimhen, Lookman immediately drops back, Chukwueze immediately drops back. Even with a player like Sanusi well up the field, they still had to drop back because there was this hesitation, this nervousness in the Nigerian team. And you can see it here too. I'll stop it at this moment right here. Just take a look at the gap between Victor Osimhen and the other Nigerian players. Look at how deep Nigeria was in this situation. Nobody supporting him. And that is where they resorted to the long balls. Because once they got the ball in this position, there was no way they were going to beat a couple, maybe 3 Ivorian players in order to get closer to Victor Osimhen to make the pass. They had to go long and hope that he would be able to hold on to the ball. Unfortunately, in the first half especially, he didn't do it too much. So the Ivory Coast kept recycling possession, kept putting Nigeria under pressure. And there was never any moment where you'd have 2 players, more than 2 players, joining the press with Osimhen. It was just one. If one steps up, the other goes back defensively, which was a good structure, but it limited Nigeria very much going forward offensively. So this was how they were approaching the whole first half. Again, the ball is put here. They have a chance to move forward, but then there are only 2 players. Victor Osimhen is all the way here. There's no way he's going to be able to come back and win the ball. So it was a feature throughout the game. But, of course, Nigeria did take the lead. It wasn't from any possession football. It was from a set piece. And we'll see where exactly the Ivory Coast went wrong. First of all, the marking. You do not put Serge Aurier on Trustekong, who is one of Nigeria's best headers of the ball, one of Nigeria's... Yeah, he was absolutely marking him. So he was left with him, and he pushed him off. And then he went in for the second header. If Trustekong, who is already much taller than Aurier, gets a run in on Aurier, there's no way, that's just one person winning that battle, aerial battle. So very poor defending from the Ivory Coast on that set piece. Nigeria also conceded from a set piece, but they were giving warnings prior to that. In the first half, there were a couple of set pieces that the Ivory Coast had, even more than the 2 clips I'm showing here. But these are 2 of the two that I'm putting out for our viewers today. We'll speed this up so we get a good idea of where everyone is set up. So take a look at the back post, where Frank Kessié is heading to. He heads over there eventually, making his way slowly to that position. And for Nigeria, no one picks him up in this position. There's no one picking him up. There was a lot of zonal marking in that situation. No one picked up Frank Kessié, and he was all alone. Unfortunately for the Ivory Coast, the ball did not get to him, almost resulted in a chance for Haller. That was one set piece. And this is yet another one that they got after we get this highlights of Haller's chance, which was very close, by the way, almost set up by Simon Adingra in the first half. Very good cross, almost got a foot to it, and that resulted from coming back after the corner kick.
Okay.
After the corner kick had been cleared. But Nigeria did not defend that well at all. And then there was this free kick. And right here, Simon Adingra, again, left all alone at the back post. If the ball had been headed to him, he has a chance to take a shot at goal. So it was a problem Nigeria kept facing throughout, even in the first half. They were given opportunities to clear the ball. They were not defending the set pieces, especially the back post, very well. And it resulted in, obviously, the Ivory Coast taking advantage in the second half and finding the equalizer. Again, Frank Kessie at the back post, unmarked. He was able to head it in. This time, the delivery was perfect. In the first half, crosses came from Jean-Michel Seri. I think at times they were from Max Gradel, never from Adingra, though. So in the second half, they changed that. They knew that they had to put in some better balls. The ball from Adingra was perfect. And over here, you can clearly see Frank Kessie on his own, not being marked. So much space for him to run into the box and get the header. And it was a perfect header.
To ask a quick question. If we are doing zonal marking, is it a good idea for the goalkeeper to make that move that he made? Because if we are marking zonally, I would expect that, okay, I'll be on my line and allow my defenders to mark the zone and be able to clear the ball away. Because as you could see, he came out, he was caught in between two minds. Yes. If he was on his line,
exactly,
he would have definitely had a better hand to it. So is it a good idea for a keeper to, join and be able to, or is it a matter of reading, timing and all of that? Because I felt a bit
of probably if he can get something to it, if he can parry the ball or get attached to it. But you see, it's a judgment thing. So when you come out, you're a goalkeeper. I think when you come out that far and you realize that, no, I'm not getting anywhere close to it. He was not really that far off. Yeah. So you think of withdrawing back. But sometimes it's like how we analyze the Congo game. When you come off the line that much and you are going back. Because even looking at it, it's a little bit far from the post where
he gets
the right power. And before that, he had power on it.
I was even going to say that the goalkeeper doesn't get anywhere close at all to the floated ball. So he goes into no man's land and now has to backtrack.
And that's definitely his fault, in my opinion, because he felt he could actually get the ball, but he misjudged the height of the ball or the direction the ball was getting to, thereby getting himself caught in two minds. Do I go out? And then quickly, Kessie had to connect the ball there. So it's a bit more.
I think it's more of a good corner kick than poor misjudgment. I think it was too good. The corner kick was very good.
Yeah, it was a very good delivery from Simon Adingra. And that is why they switched it, because they realized that the balls were not beating the first man. They were not getting far enough to take advantage of that mismatch that had been created with the back post. And the good change by the manager, I'm sure it was the manager who did that. He made a right choice. But speaking of Simon Adingra, he was fantastic throughout the game, created problems down the left-hand side for the Ivory Coast. And we saw the pass distribution map that he was the most used player for the Ivory Coast. He was their biggest outlet. And in the first half, he probably could have got a couple of goals, maybe created a couple of assists. We'll speed it up so that we get this along. But you can tell his movement. He has the beating of Ola Aina, and he knows that he has the beating of Ola Aina. So a couple of times he took him on the run. This time his shot was way over. But you can tell that he's definitely a threat. Aina knows that he has a problem with him. He can't deal with him on his own. And Simon Adingra, if he polishes up his finishing, polishes up his final ball, could have got a little something from there. All alone down that side, nobody to help until Fofana fell, but then it was too late. Adingra was past him, and that was a chance that was created. There were several of these opportunities for the Ivory Coast where they targeted the side Simon Adingra was. They recognized his movement, a long ball over the top. This time, Nwabali gets to it first. Nwabali gets to it first, and then Adingra couldn't get the ball. But here's another opportunity where they create a situation where they win the ball very quickly. Ola Aina is very
isolated.
Is very out of his position, so out of his position that it leaves Adingra free, and he probably would have backed himself to do much better with that opportunity. Just look at how far back Ola Aina was. And this was Nigeria in possession in their own half, not even across the halfway line. And he was already bombing up the pitch. So the risk you take is, obviously, Adingra has a clear run, clear space, and then if you have a player who can make the pass to him, and obviously Frank Kessie could make the pass to him, found him in some good space. However, his first touch let him down. It didn't keep the ball in front of him enough to have an immediate shot. He had to hesitate a bit, get closer before taking the shot, and that made it a little easier for the Nigerian goalkeeper to get at. But of course, all that was just a precursor to what happened in the second half for the Ivory Coast winner. Again, he is there. He takes Ola Aina on the side. And unlike players who are very one-footed, he is very comfortable on his left foot to put a good ball into the box, and Haller with a wonderful save.
Yeah, Wabali just stood watching.
Yes, he did. Could Aina have done better? Could he have helped Adingra a little more, allowed Kelechi Iheanacho to come and support him? Yes, maybe he could have. But in this position, you are talking about a player of the ability of Simon Adingra. It's difficult to keep him in one place, but it was still poor defending. He showed his side, decided to stick out his leg, and Adingra took full advantage. Wonderful ball, but you've got to credit the finishing from Haller as well. He was not favourite for that ball, and he stuck out a very long leg and nudged it into the back of the net. So obviously, the Ivory Coast set up really well right from the start, and they dominated Nigeria, who never got into the groove of things. They took their chances, and they exploited their strengths in Simon Adingra, kept going down that side. Nigeria never recovered, and obviously the Ivory Coast took advantage, and they are AFCON winners.
All right, Simon Adingra getting high praise there. But guys, it makes you want to think about Enes Nyama. Probably what could have been. What could have been? What could have been?
It's anytime I get into the Ghana issue, I try to be very calm, because some of the decisions we've made throughout the tournament clearly didn't make sense to me. You can't take Enes Nyama to a tournament and reduce his football to just some 30 minutes, 20 minutes play time. There's a very dangerous, a player that's very dangerous, very, very sharp. I mean, could cause havoc. We kept persisting on playing certain players. We kept sticking to certain profiles, sticking to Jordan Ayew, causing a lot more fouls, rather than players who be more direct, be able to, get into, or play an Osman Bukari to be more direct. We clearly lacked a lot of things at that point, and it's very disappointing. But you look at Simon Adingra, every single time he had the ball, he was dangerous. He could do everything with the ball as he wishes. I mean, that skill to cut the ball in to his left foot, to take Ola Aina, I mean, he makes it very difficult for Aina, because that cut in alone sends the ball into the box. Now, Ola Aina has just one job. Make sure he doesn't get a cross in or stand him off a bit. But this Adingra too, very good with the left foot as well. So he quickly sends it in. And I felt Aina was a bit casual in trying to defend that ball.
Okay.
And that's been Aina. He feels a bit more casual, even sometimes when he's tracking back. He's a very quality player, very good on the ball. And you could see the number of times, and that highlights Nigeria in a nutshell. They were very poor on the ball. Edwin showed us something where that chance that Adingra took with his left. It was a quick turnover, and they failed to recover. And that leaves a lot of space. So and if you afford Adingra that kind of space, he's always going to cause havoc. Even in tight spaces, he's causing havoc. How much more leaving him in? And then Nigeria just failed to turn up. That's how I put it.
Yeah, but you see, one other thing I realized is this Ivorian side is completely different from the Ivorian side the Nigerians met in the group stages, because Nigeria also took the lead in that, but Ivory Coast were not able to create any chance, any meaningful opportunity, because you look at the people they were playing on the wings. I think they played Nicolas Pepe. The players they played on the wing, the players they played in the middle were not creating enough chances, so you could not even see a clear-cut chance. And I think Nigeria overestimated their defense, because, like I said in the semi-final, it's a good defense, but I don't think it's a defense if you come at it a lot, it won't crack. They will definitely crack, because you look at Ola Aina, Calvin Bassey, these are very good offensive players, but at their back, a lot of questions have not been asked of them. So if you go directly in the middle, you are going to feel, because through the middle, they are very solid there. But on the wings, a player who gives you the pace, a player who questions you or isolates you, you are going to struggle. And that was it. They really overestimated how good their defense have been throughout the tournament. And I was telling a friend yesterday, it's because the teams they've come up against, Cameroon, they've never really exploited the wings. Even South Africa didn't really exploit the wings. So I think it's a good job by MS5. They really studied the Nigerian side, and it's about personnel. Personnel do change games. So if you are stuck in your ways about using certain personnel as a team, you are not going to get maximum utility, especially when you have people who can change games and you are giving them 20 minutes. And I still pray these are things teams learn from. And then because the personnel you employ goes a long way to give you the best in your team. Like he's saying, if you have a player of Kudus's caliber who is more attacking minded, you are forced, and that's what happened. You are isolating Osimhen, making him do more defensive duty. They couldn't even create any chance for him. Then you have yourself to blame. Okay,
so coaching decisions key, player roles key as well. Let's wrap it up with the awards or the prizes. We know the biggest award went to La Côte d'Ivoire. They won the competition, so thumbs up to them. But certain individuals were also given prizes. Let's start off with the first one, Ronwen Williams, goalkeeper of the competition. Guys, are there any doubts?
No doubt at all.
I see. I would have still preferred Stanley Nwabali.
Okay, you would have voted for
because I think maybe the criteria is clean sheet and all of that. But I think Stanley didn't start Nigeria's first game against Equatorial.
He played all the games.
He played throughout. You see, I feel like the second game against Côte d'Ivoire, throughout the tournament, the reason why they've been able to come this far is his mentality.
Okay.
I don't know. I think penalty-wise, and even when they came to one-on-one, Nigeria, South Africa, Stanley was the better goalkeeper. So, yeah, I get the criteria, and I'm not overly complaining, but I think Stanley Nwabali, based on the eye test and throughout, should have been the best goalkeeper.
Okay.
I think otherwise. Okay. Yeah. I think otherwise. I felt that Williams had to face a lot more shots at some point.
Okay.
Made very good
He kept, what,
saves.
5 clean sheets?
5 clean sheets.
I mean, lots of one-on-ones.
A lot of 1v1s. I mean,
he seems to be very cool in the one-on-ones.
Very, yes. I mean, that's an area of strength. Very good with his feet as well. Overall, I think he deserves. I mean, it's not. It's
well. I think it's one of those things that you wouldn't really be upset if any of the two.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to more of the prizes. The individual prizes that were handed out yesterday after the game. Simon Adingra, he also got himself a nice prize, best young player. I don't think there are any questions over. You
see, I feel so sad for Lamine Camara. Because this was shaping up to be his tournament.
This competition.
So, and this is a guy who didn't play most of the group stage. He just came in the knockout and was always coming off the bench. So you see, you just need 20 minutes to show your quality.
That's it.
and yeah.
Okay. Kwame, no issues?
Oh, no issues. That's impact. I mean, the impact he even made in the semi-final and also in the final. Okay. I mean, what else do we have to show? He showed up when it mattered the most. We'll give you the best. It's like Enzo. Enzo in the World Cup. I think he didn't play a lot of the
He started from the knockout against Australia.
when you show your quality,
So
that's when
we
we
get
get to reward you for
All right,
that.
let's get to the scorers of the competition. Let's start off with the bronze boot. Mustafa Mohamed of Egypt there. The next name, can we move on? Yes, Gelson Dala.
Yeah.
He got the silver, second top scorer, and then the number one, Emiliano Nsue. Who would have thought?
That hat trick against the Ivory Coast
Yes.
clearly
Puts
him,
yes.
at
5
that
goals.
level,
And yesterday he was at the stadium
Yes.
to pick up his award, immaculately dressed.
If you're Nigeria, you'll be sad because this is a trophy Osimhen could have easily taken if they had changed their approach and the way they played. Osimhen had to do a lot of defensive striking job, defensive attacking job, and he had a lot of disallowed goals to Bar. Because he if he hadn't missed that penalty against Guinea,
It was going to be
he would have been outright.
Okay, all right. Emiliano Nsue winning there. Let's move on to more prizes. More prizes there. Emes Faye, best coach.
No doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt.
He ticks all the boxes.
A game changer. He changed absolutely everything for the Ivorians, and he deserves everything that he's gotten. Best coach. I mean, he won the competition with just 4 games. Did all he could to transform the team. He deserves every bit of it.
Emes Faye getting the coach of the competition. Let's move on to the tournament's best player and Trustekong. William Trustekong.
Deserved.
No doubt.
I think he deserves it. The way he marshaled that, but for the final, I mean, he really marshaled that team. He was an inspiring leader. I mean, getting them to that, even getting that goal for them in the final and all of that, he deserves to be the best player of the competition.
All right, let me read this message and then we'll call it a show. This one says, it was actually sent in French, so I'll read it and I'll translate. It says, nous sommes très heureux pour victoire de la Côte d'Ivoire. Football est notre passion. Côte d'Ivoire forever. So it says we are happy happy that Côte d'Ivoire has won. Football is our passion. It says Côte d'Ivoire forever. Idi in Tabora says, I said yesterday that Côte d'Ivoire were going to win. Well, Idi, you are a prophet. Côte d'Ivoire has won. Guys, as we wrap it up, your standout moments of the competition in just a few seconds, and then we'll enjoy a bit of Tamsi.
Because I was there, I really enjoyed the Ghana-Egypt game. It was
You
crazy.
saw it in the flesh.
I saw it in the flesh. It was crazy. It was a mad game. But then shout out to certain players in this tournament who I don't think are getting their props enough. Mokoena, Gelson Dala, Freddy, Mabululu. See, like they said, legends are made at this tournament. And Mamouche of Egypt, these are players who I don't think get their props enough.
They stand out to be Morocco beating Zambia for the Ivory Coast to get into the tournament, back into the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing beats that. They had to wait for 3 days to know whether they are qualifying or not. And that was it. They were dead. And they arose. And they have the trophy. I mean, nothing beats that.
We need to thank the Moroccans for that. But anyway, that's how we wrap it up. Let me thank my guests, Kwame Safo and Kwame Bafo. Let me thank all the guests who made it here. Yao Frimpong, Edmond Sedinam, all the guests who were here. All the guys we spoke to on Zoom, Scott, Gillan, and John Bafo. Thank you so much. And Susu Graham, who joined us at a point in the competition. Many thanks to you out there for watching. My name is Nathan Kwa. It's been fun bringing you the AFCON Daily Show. It was proudly sponsored by Bet Power. Many thanks to the production team, lights, camera, sound, floor, director, producer, everybody who helped to make this show a reality. We love you so much. And to La Côte d'Ivoire, félicitations. You've done well. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week. Enjoy how long you celebrate this tournament for. We'll catch you whenever there's another major competition somewhere in the globe. My name is Nathan Kwa. Many thanks for watching. We leave you in the capable hands of Tamsi and his hit song, Coup de Marteau.